BluMetric Environmental Inc. is Canada's premier water solution and environmental consulting company. BluMetric provides a full range of environmental consulting services supported by bespoke engineering solutions for emergency, self-contained, and permanent water systems, and is always mission ready with a full range of in-house support to ensure your mission is a success.
And welcome to the Over the Horizon podcast here at MASS 2023. I'm Alan Dale. With me as always, my good buddy Jerry Carew. We are Gale Force Winds. Thank you to our good friends at BluMetric for sponsoring this conversation here today. They truly are thought leaders in the space, wanting to get people talking. A lot of great things happening in the marine and the aerospace and defense sector in and around Atlantic Canada. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
So I'm Chris Hearn. I'm the director for the Center for Marine Simulation at the Marine Institute here in St. John's.
Okay, you're going to unpack that. What exactly do you guys do up there? Marine simulation, big thing.
So let's dive into that one first. So the center is one of the revenue and special industry response centers that are in the Marine Institute. The Marine Institute has three big academic schools, nautical or maritime studies, ocean technology, and fisheries. But they have a special sauce that are these units, these specialized centers that interact directly with industry and also do very specialized research. So my center, CMS, was created as a result of the Ocean Ranger.
Okay.
So at the time, of course, the results of that accident and the investigation, the industry, as well as both levels of government, decided that wasn't going to happen again. The operating conditions in Newfoundland are famously bad. We're talking about distances, bad weather, the age of the technology, these sorts of things. Now, there had always been a simulation component within the Marine Institute for the nautical science and marine engineering programs, but it was decided that if we could tap into that and build upon it to create more realistic scenarios and more industry reflective technology, that people who are actually doing things could come in and be immersed in realistic type applications that would test them, stress them, but also produce the best results. Make an accident in our facility, not in the real world.
Wow, so I mean the amount of evolution in simulation since the Ocean Ranger must have seen that particular offering grow over time. Tell us about that growth.
So from the initial investment to create at the center, so the first thing they built was a ballast control simulator sitting on a motion base. So it would respond just like the operators would on a drilling rig. That evolved into the next big phase was the big full motion bridge, which is one of the two big iconic pieces of technology in the Institute.
What year would that have been, Chris?
91.
Wow.
So we're talking about quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And when that big bridge was built, there was nothing like it in the world.
Like it
still remains the only one of its kind in the world.
Sorry.
So we've continued to grow. Successive directors before me added capability and technology. I came along and added more technology and capability, and so now we boast a facility that runs well over 20 simulators, 3 big Class A ships bridges, all connected, all immersive, connected to an engine room and positioning equipment, a lot of capacity, and we added a special sauce of building our own ship models and databases. So clients come to us from all over the world. We've done work in the Russian Arctic, the Southeast Asia, into the United States. We build ships and we build the area databases or offshore fields where they're working. They'll send their people to us. They'll train or do an assessment in our facility, and then they'll fly back with the lessons learned.
So training people under simulation conditions, or is it, I guess is one thing to, from a baseline, taking people from no experience. There's probably also some retraining and re-upping skills, a lot of that. So what does your client base look like up there?
So it's very iterative. It's a very good point to bring up about like the baseline. So most of the work we do is already for people who are in the shipping industry, somebody who are already ships officers or ships engineers. And that can be as everything from bespoke to very specific ship maneuvering. They're learning about a new vessel, how the vessel will operate. Or it can be things that are more broadly spaced, like leadership and management, how people relate in high stressful situations, how third third officers are being encouraged now during an operation to point out something that they see could be wrong to the captain, whereas years ago that wasn't done. And that's all part of, again, human-to-human interaction and communications. But a lot of what we do too really reflects the operating conditions we have here in Newfoundland. We're probably one of the best in the world at this conference about maritime Arctic and security at doing operations in ice. We help craft the training legislation for the IMO's Polar Code. The programs we deliver are used by not only Canadian Coast Guard or ships in Canada, but people fly here from other parts of the world to do training in our facility. And that's at both the basic and advanced level. So that's open to anybody who's got the background and the experience who wants to operate in the Arctic. And then we do things like very technical focused operations like dynamic positioning for the shuttle tankers offshore. So it's soup to nuts. It's a very broad scope, which is very reflective of the Marine Institute in general. The Marine Institute does a lot of things, and people are not fully aware of how broad we actually are and where we're operating to.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, everything that you just talk about there, I mean, it's fascinating to think that all of these people from around the world are coming here to get their training in Newfoundland from experts, and we can do that for them. Most people wouldn't know that.
Nope. That's
it
right.
must be a great place to work.
Well, it is for me, and so I'm an alumni of the Marine Institute. I went through the program Nautical Science and graduated and went to work all over the world, was on ships all over the world. And I came ashore and I had the opportunity to come in and take over the center. And I always wanted to have this ability to bring something back to my alma mater, things I'd seen. And I always had this mindset of, you know, if I was in Norway doing training or some other world, we can do that in Newfoundland. We can totally do that in Newfoundland. So that was a driver for me, was to bring things back. Luckily, I had a really great network by then. I knew lots of people in the industry, and looking at investment to find ways to leverage money. This is a great thing the Institute does as well. We find how to make $1 into $2 or $3. And so that machinery and the administration side of that was already there. So it was a really win-win. I really appreciated the time and really the sea room to be able to do these kinds of things and attend conferences like this or events. You know, now that we're coming out of COVID, things are starting to pick up back again to where they were. And so, yeah, it's a good mission. It's a good opportunity, and you know, a lot of it is work, but there's a fun side to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be in so finely tuned with industry as academia, it's complicated sometimes, but you got to get it right in your field.
Absolutely. That's one of the big things that the Institute is all about. So there's certainly an academic side to it, and there's a growing fundamental research application, like looking at the human factors element, like fatigue and decision-making breakdown, or people, how cold they get inside of immersion suits and these sorts of things. But there's also very much the applied side. Again, companies coming in to find a solution for something. An example of having to get things right is the kind of the work we would do for tow-outs of massive offshore structures. Huge amount of modeling and effort and expectation on behalf of the clients, because they're coming, you know, to look at something they're going to do. Millions upon millions of dollars are going to be at stake in this, and so our effort there matches the expectation of our clients. We work really hard, and we work with them for a very long period of time to try and get as good as we can. It'll never be perfect, but it'll be as close as we absolutely can to what we are expected to do.
You know, ACADA pulled this conference together. They do so every year. MASS is an intimate conference, good place to have a conversation around things, get things done, networking, it all happens here. What does MASS and indeed ACADA mean to the Marine Institute?
Well, I think we're a really good example of an entity that works broadly right across ACADA's membership. And so the Marine Institute, even by its very name, marine, you know, is a connotation to anything on surface. There's also having stuff to do with both what's above the surface and what's below the surface. So part of my opportunity here was to announce, you know, at least that the Institute is moving in the direction of exploring what happens in autonomous surface and subsurface vessels and vehicles, and how these things are controlled, but also to provide a forum through the Marine Institute's new facilities out in Conception Bay to launch a test area to come in and trial their technology. And this could be for communication systems, it could be for propulsion systems. You know, we're now talking about sustainable transportation and the move away from carbon, you know, the carbon footprint and greenhouse gases into more electrical or hydrogen based. And so this gives us an opportunity then to provide this forum to do this testing. So bring back it here, if you're talking about security applications and Arctic applications, then both the ability to expand and enhance Canada's or other countries' abilities to stay in the Arctic longer, to go further in the Arctic, but also to leave less of an input and an imprint of being there. I think it kind of ties it together for an event like this.
Yeah. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, as you're talking, Alan and I have been in a couple of boardrooms where the Marine Institute, and they're not boardrooms in Newfoundland, the Marine Institute has come up. Listening to you talk, I can see why. The leadership that you're providing is incredible. Yeah. But it's not just theoretical. You've done it. You've been out at sea, and wow, just love listening to you talk.
There's a great group of people at the Institute, there really is. There's a lot of not only thought leadership, but really good support and an entrepreneurial spirit that's across all the centres. So on the fishery side, I mean, we have, many people realize what's in the walls of the Marine Institute, an entire bioprocessing lab, and an entire scale model aquacultural facility, and an enormous, the world's largest flume tank where they generate 2 knots of current to test fishing gear in profile. And these are well known and well respected all over the place. And it's all going on in St. John. So it's not only in mine, it's the other initiatives and other parts that people are doing in the Institute. And again, coming around to the launch, the facility, the keynote facility for the Institute on the water side, it's huge. And again, into the Arctic, into all over the world. We have a long reach, we have a broad reach. And it's part of Newfoundland's gift to the world.
Yeah. Of course, there's an expression in Newfoundland that I think really summarizes what the Marine Institute's involved in, and that's flat out. There's no slowing you down. Well done to you, and keep up the great work. This style of leadership in the marine sector is needed around the globe, and it's happening right here in St. John's, Newfoundland. Appreciate you being on.
Excellent. Appreciate for having me.
BluMetric wants to partner and work with Atlantic Canadian industries and organizations who are concerned about the water health of our planet and the people who inhabit it in an environmentally and culturally sensitive manner. BluMetric wants to join the growing number of like-minded, innovative Atlantic Canadian companies who are changing the environmental landscape for the globe in a world-class way.